Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Jeff Ward.
So if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe and all that, and we've been doing absolutely amazing with subscribers lately, and I'm hoping to reach 400 pretty soon, which will be awesome. So thank you very much for watching this video anyway. So that was a fantastic episode. One of the most intense and serious and fast-paced episodes of the season yet. There have been others obviously, but this one was definitely up there. But honestly, this episode reminded me of the late season 5 episodes. It's the first episode of the season that I thought really hammered home that this is it, this is the final season, because every second scene in this episode really did feel like they were setting up for a big ending, for something huge, kind of with so many callbacks. Just a lot of the scenes, especially a lot of stuff with Daisy, really felt like they were setting that up for an ending with that character, with all these characters. And it also had the very serious and, like, there's a looming threat, there's danger, they don't know how they're going to beat this sort of feeling that the end of Season 5 definitely had when they were going up against Graviton. Also, all the space stuff with, you know, the Zephyr up in space while the Quinjet goes up after it. That's a lot like the end of Season 5 where they'd send the Zephyr up after the Graviton ship, or I forget whatever the Marauders, whatever their ship was called. Well, they went up after that. It really gave me that kind of vibes. But a lot of the best scenes in this episode actually came from Daisy and who she was interacting with. So just her scenes with Sousa was so good. All the Quake stuff was hilarious. And there were just a lot of nice, sweet scenes. I felt that pretty much everything that happened on the Quinjet was kind of just there to give more development, or I guess to start wrapping up the storylines of a lot of these characters, which I was fine with. The stuff with Daisy and Mac as well was really emotional. That scene really did get to me. I was really surprised how out of nowhere that came, and where Daisy was like, we're not just going to become the people who we used to know from work, and Mac's like, that's probably what's going to happen, which is really depressing to think about. But yeah, I mean, if this is their last mission, they're not all going to hang out with each other after all this is done, because as close as they all are, some of the worst things that have happened to these people in their lives happened when they were on this team. And as a family, you know, anytime they're together, they're just going to remember the hard times as well as the good times, and it might be better off to start over. Like, for example, Daisy going off with Sousa. Sousa hasn't been here for a lot of this, so it makes sense she would go off with him when he hasn't really, he's not a reminder of a lot of the trauma and experience that she's had with S.H.I.E.L.D. and with her family. But the Mac and Sousa scene was also great, where Mac's like, what is your intention, with Daisy kind of acting like the father, which was pretty awesome. And I just love the real bonding scene, because I don't think we've gotten any proper scene between Mac and Sousa at all this season. And I love when Mac started laughing when he realized how funny Quake actually sounds. That was all great. And as great as all that was, I do need to get on to the big part of the episode for me, which was Fitz. Because yes, we had our first official new scene with Fitz in this episode, but unfortunately it all takes place in the past, in the time between season 6 and 7, and likely a lot of those scenes actually take place in Gemma's mind, especially from how they're using the white environment, which looks a lot like the Chronicom Mind Prison from Season 6, Episode 6. Could be something similar to that, so it could either take place in there, or it takes place inside the implant in Gemma's head, which I think might be likely. I'm seeing that theory now is gaining a lot of traction, that Fitz, yeah, he's dead, or maybe he's inside Gemma's implant or something, that he's not physically around anymore, which would be quite disappointing. I don't like if they choose that direction to go with the character. I'm not very happy with that, mainly because that kind of gives us the idea that Fitz isn't going to actually interact with any of the characters other than Gemma in the final 2 episodes, which would really be a bad way to go for me. I think that they should have found some way to not do that. Now, this is just speculation at the moment. The next week with the final 2 episodes is definitely going to clear this up, but it's just what they've told us in this episode really does feel like they're setting it up as Fitz is gone, he's not around anymore, he's either inside Gemma's implant or he's gone completely. I'm also not huge on Gemma forgetting Fitz. I think that that's a very weird thing to throw in right before the final 2 episodes. because obviously they can't spend more than the first episode on that, because it's the final 2 episodes ever. This is a pretty huge plot point to show up out of nowhere. Like, if we were halfway through the season, then yeah, sure, I'd think that would make sense as a new development for the rest of the season, but I don't know if that works going right into the final. But in terms of the Fitz stuff, this is all we're going to get of him this season. That 2-episode rumor, yeah, it looks like it was true, and that's likely now that this was one of his 2 episodes, and 7x13 will be the other episode, while he probably won't be in 7x12 at all, unfortunately. But it's starting to look like he's not going to be there physically in 7x13, that his only scenes are going to be maybe with Gemma, maybe if they have their daughter at some point during the past, then we're going to see scenes with that, maybe Enoch again. I'm starting to get really worried we're not actually going to see Fitz show up and talk to Coulson, talk to May, talk to any of those characters. I don't know, I'm getting worried about it. I think that if this is the way they go, I'm going to be quite disappointed in the final. Maybe not as the season overall, but it's definitely going to lower this season in my mind for me, because I'm just not happy. Maybe they'll do it amazingly and I'll be really happy with it, but at the moment I'm not big on the idea that that's what's happening. We also got to see Enoch again in one of those flashbacks, which was great. We'd known he was coming back for a while. There was casting sheets since, like, before the season even began, saying that his actor was going to be in this episode. On top of that, I'm pretty sure his actor on Twitter has said that he has one more episode to show. Maybe he's hiding that he's in the final, maybe he's not, but it was great to see him nonetheless. I also loved all the Gemma and Deke stuff. If the whole Deke getting captured immediately thing was a little bit underwhelming, it seemed like they were setting us up for a huge thing where it's like Deke's going to have to sneak onto the Zephyr and sneak around and take out these guys himself. Kind of like Die Hard, and we even get the Die Hard references in this episode because the writers obviously knew that that's what we'd go to. But yeah, he just immediately, his first scene in the episode, he gets captured by Garrett. The thing is though, as well though, as underwhelming as it was seeing him get captured so fast, I did really like the stuff with him. The fact that he didn't break, the fact that he was, pretty resilient to physical trauma was pretty impressive. But also on top of that, we're not, like, we're used to seeing people like Daisy in these situations where they're pretty bloody, they're pretty beaten. But someone like Deke, we are absolutely not used to seeing him like this. And so seeing him get immediately quaked by Malik, get absolutely beaten up by Garrett, that was pretty hard to watch. I thought I was pretty surprised by how much I was like, this is a really intense scene. So I guess I'm fine with all that because of how good they made it seem. The Nathaniel stuff going inside Gemma's head, it was cool, it was interesting. We got to see some flashbacks to old scenes, such as the Gemma and Fitz stuff at the end of season 1, and some more stuff when Gemma returns to S.H.I.E.L.D. in like mid-season 2. So we got some stuff with that. The thing is though, Nathaniel being there, it definitely, I don't want to say dampened the scenes for me, but like, these are our only Fitz scenes at all yet. And they're immediately getting ruined by Nathaniel being pushed into them, which was a little annoying. But speaking of Nathaniel, I did like some of his stuff here. I thought that his reasoning for getting rid of S.H.I.E.L.D. meant nobody will ever have to call anybody sir again was actually pretty good reasoning. I thought that was a pretty cool way to go with his character. It was just some of the ways they handled it that I wasn't too impressed by. Plus, that comes down to the tag, again, being, I don't know. I think that the tags this season have been the worst tags in the entire show, because it feels like every time they're setting up a huge tag where we see where Fitz is, we see what's happening with Fitz, or we see another character returning, and it ends up being pretty much Nathaniel, or it ends up being just kind of a joke scene of the episode. But I'll get back to the tag in a minute. I just want to talk about Cora real quick. I thought that her character was quite cool, quite interesting for a lot of this episode. I actually did really like where she brought up basically Project Insight, where she was like, what about killing Grant Ward? And everybody's like, whoa, he's a child at this point, we can't just kill a child. And then she brings up that May's used to that because of Bahrain, which was a really great scene. She also brought up Andrew Garner, Rosalind Price, and Lincoln. So we were getting a ton of callbacks, which really did hammer home, this is the end, this is one of the final episodes. But the whole thing about Grant Ward got me, because my reasoning for why Grant Ward was probably going to be in the last 3 episodes was that he hadn't been referenced at all in the final season yet. And I was like, look, they haven't referenced him all yet. He's one of the biggest characters from the show's history that they haven't even brought up. That means he's going to be showing up. They're not just going to not reference him in the final season, and now they've referenced him in quite a substantial way as well. So now I'm like, alright, that maybe he's not going to be showing up, unfortunately. Although that is a big enough shout out to him that it could be them setting up for like, what if they go for a child version of Ward at some point? They have to protect him in the next 2 episodes, which will be cool. But once again, that feels like something that's another random little side plot that takes away from the final main plot of this show. Like, I really want to see Ward again. I just don't know how that would tie into what they're doing so far. But I did think that was all really cool with Cora. I also liked how physically shaken she was with Jiaying, and I was surprised that she seemed pretty serious about joining S.H.I.E.L.D. But then we learned that it was basically all a ruse so she could get the locations of all the S.H.I.E.L.D. bases, and as soon as she gets back to the Zephyr, we find out that she's, I don't know, romantically into Malik or something. I know that it definitely looked like she was hiding some kind of anger or something like that there, but this ties back to what I was saying about the tags. The fact that the tag ended up being Cora and Malik just kissing each other was ridiculous to me. After an episode of setting up where is Fitz, after an episode of setting up S.H.I.E.L.D. just got destroyed, the final tag, maybe this is basically the final tag ever too, because I feel like the tag of episode 12 isn't going to matter because we'll be going right into the final episode anyway. These tags are supposed to get us really hyped for the next episode. How is that getting us hyped for the next episode? That's pretty much the final tag ever. How is it going to get us hyped? So I was a little bit weirded out by that. But we also got Coulson and May, some great scenes there. I did really like them talking together a lot and about how they're different people now. Coulson's kind of the hacker of the team now, while May is the one who's able to be the Coulson, you know, kind of get in people's heads, talk to them, find out what's going on in there, which I really liked. And S.H.I.E.L.D. being destroyed, that was a fantastic scene that really did hammer home that this was a great episode to me. And we got callbacks to tons of the old S.H.I.E.L.D. bases, like the hub, the sandbox. Can't remember where else they talked about. Obviously the Triskelion as well, we see that get destroyed, which is something that has been in the promos since episode 1, I think, was the end of episode 1, the promo they showed for episode 2, that was where the Triskelion gets destroyed. So that's been teased for a while, but that was a whole great scene where S.H.I.E.L.D's like, hey, it's good to hear from you, Lighthouse, and they immediately start getting blinked off the map. A lot of shows do something like that, and I always love when they do stuff like that, so I thought that they handled it really well. Garrett didn't get a lot to do this episode. He was kind of just relegated to side stuff. Yo-Yo also, but she did get a really cool scene where the 2 mercenaries break out of the cell and try and get her from behind, but because I was like thinking to her, saying, come on, Elena, how are you not hearing this? And then she'd put her head up and like, oh, okay, she's playing them, she hears it, and she knocks him out immediately. So even though she didn't get a lot to do this episode, I was really happy with that scene. But yeah, it was a fantastic episode. I just have a couple problems, but the thing is, my problems are just worries for the directions they're going with certain things. If they go different directions, if they go better directions in the final 2 episodes, and then this will make this episode a top tier 1 for me, or if they go to directions I'm worried they're going to go in, then this episode is probably just going to stay where it is right now, which is pretty good with some minor plot issues. But yeah, I was really happy with it. It definitely got me psyched and hyped for the final episodes besides that tag. But what did you think? Did you enjoy this episode? Did you hate it? Do you've got problems with it? Do you think it's a perfect episode? Who is your favorite character? All that sort of stuff. And please remember to subscribe. Hopefully we can reach 400 soon, which would be amazing because we've done so well so far. I'm already almost at 360, which is awesome. Considering that I only reached 300 for the first time about 2 weeks ago. So that's amazing. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, all of that. And I hope you have an amazing day.